Anthropic just beat OpenAI to the top of the App Store, not by building a better model, but by taking a public stance against the Pentagon. Meanwhile, drone strikes hit Amazon's data centers in the Gulf, and Britain's fiscal watchdog is warning that AI could eliminate more than 2 million UK jobs. And this week, the battle over who controls AI, the talent, the infrastructure, and the data is moving faster than most people realize. Now, if you want to know how to position your team for what's coming, click the link in the description where we're offering a free masterclass which breaks this all down for you. And hey, I'm Niniola, and this is the Decode. So we'll be going over our first story, and this is Claude overtakes ChatGPT on the App Store, and Anthropic's Claude, which is the AI chat bot, reaches #1 on the Apple App Store. The surge followed a public dispute between Anthropic and the US Department of War over military use of Anthropic's AI, which refused to loosen its safety restrictions. OpenAI, by contrast, signed a defense agreement with the Pentagon, and the backlash drove a wave of new users over to Claude, pushing it ahead of ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. Now, in this article, it also goes into a bit more detail around how Anthropic has actually been offering additional services and capabilities, such as the free memory feature, which is primarily ring-fenced for paid subscribers. Here's what this tells you about where the industry is kind of heading and what to do about it. See, most people look at this story and see a ranking change. Now, what it actually is a value test, and Anthropic, in my opinion, has passed this publicly. The competition between AI companies is no longer just about who has the most capable model. It's increasingly about users choosing to trust. Now, Anthropic took a position that cost them, in essence, a government contract. That same position has now earned them hundreds and thousands of new users within a week. Now, that is not just an accident or something they've stumbled upon. It's character, and character compounds just like interest does. And like interest, it takes a longer time to show. And in a crowded AI market, integrity is becoming a key differentiator that cannot be copied. One practical action I would ask for you to take this month is to audit the AI tools that you use, both personally and within your organization, not just for their capability, but also for the values that are actually behind them. Because in the AI economy, who you build with is a strategic decision. And if trust is shaping which AI companies win users, the next story shows what happens when the physical infrastructure those companies depend on comes under attack. So our next segment is really around the drone strikes that have been taking place around Iran. So I'm just going to play this video.
Vlad, a lot of questions being asked about how Iran acts out at this moment, especially if they're backed into a corner. How should we think of their cyber capabilities and the potential for disruption along the more digital infrastructure lines?
Yeah, thanks for having us here. So I think there's probably 3 layers that we'll see, right? The first one's already in the theater of war, where they're attacking the drones and they're trying to, move them out of the way and potentially attacking the companies that are making those. And we'll see more of that going through. I think the second layer starts to get more into the general infrastructure that you have back in the United States, right? You try to attack airports, you try to attack energy facilities, water utilities, the things that upset Americans on a day-to-day basis to all of a sudden say, whoa, hold on a second, we wanted no part of this. Let's get out of it. And I think the third part is then general kind of consumer applications that we use on a regular basis as well. And so it'll be a mix of both the Iranian government, but also some of their quote-unquote hacktivists that they have that are out there that are just, free, kind of off on their own, doing what they feel is important for the cause.
Right, and maybe their allies as well. I heard...
Let's take a pause there. So, what in essence has happened here? So Amazon's confirmed that AWS facilities in the United Arab Emirates and in Bahrain were damaged in a drone strike. So 2 data centers in the UAE were hit directly, and a third facility in Bahrain suffered damage from a nearby strike. The attacks caused structural damages and power disruptions, as well as water damage from fire suppression. Systems affected cloud services across the region, and AWS advised customers to reroute traffic and move workloads to other regions while recovering operations continue. Now, here's how I kind of see this influencing you and I suppose the industry as a whole. See, most people think of the cloud as something intangible, right? Software floating somewhere in the ether, right? Now, this story strips that illusion away entirely. The internet runs on physical infrastructure, data centers, power grids, cooling systems, fiber cables. All those assets sit in the real world, which means they are exposed to real world risks. And geopolitical instability is now a direct threat to digital operations. So for companies building AI products or cloud services, this creates one urgent strategic priority, which is resilience. Not just speed, not just scale, but actual redundancy across multiple regions is no longer a technical footnote. It's a leadership responsibility. So one practical action for you guys this month is to find out exactly where your cloud company's infrastructure lives. And if it's concentrated in one region, especially in and around Iran, then I'd suggest you review it and propose a fix. And if physical infrastructure is the hidden vulnerability in the AI economy, the organizations that survive disruptions are the ones whose operations are built to flex. Now, before we continue, there's something I personally use and really want to share. If you travel regularly for work and or for personal, or if you're running a business where expenses tend to add up, the Amex Platinum card has genuinely been extremely useful to me when it comes to airport lounges, access to travel, credits, and rewards on everything I spend. So for tech professionals and founders who want their spending to work harder for them, it's worth a look. So my referral link is in the description. So we'll move on right to the next story. So the next story is around the OBR, which warns that AI could raise the UK unemployment. So let me see if I can find that. I think it's the next tab. So Britain's fiscal watchdog says artificial intelligence could increase unemployment in the UK without significant boosting economic growth. So analysts by the OBR suggest more than 2 million roles in the finance and professional services alone could be automated over the next decade. These sectors include some of the largest employers and biggest contributors to UK tax revenue. And the OBR warns that whilst AI may boost productivity, the overall lift to the economy growth could be relatively small. So economists are concerned that rapid automation could push unemployment higher. So if work cannot transition quickly enough into new roles, the government and businesses are not yet moving fast enough to reskill them. So here's my take on how this affects your strategy, your career, and your next move. So the lazy reading of this story is AI is coming for your job, right? And that framing is both true and incomplete. The real question is not whether AI will automate work. It will. The question is what kind of work, at what speed, and whether the people doing the work will be supported through that transition. So for decades, automations mostly replaced physical labor. What makes AI catastrophically different is that it is now automating cognitive tasks such as research, analysis, drafting, financial modeling, legal review, and the professional class is now inside the blast radius. The OBR is warning that the UK is not ready. But here is what the report does not say loudly enough, is that technology does not only destroy jobs, it creates new categories of work. The challenge is always the speed of the gap between the two. The goal of technology should not simply be efficient, it should be helping people flourish and to contribute. That is a stewardship question, not just an economic one. So one practical action I want to give to you guys is identify parts of your role that AI can already do, then invest time in the skill it cannot. So this could be judgment, strategic framing, stakeholder influence, and creative problem solving. In an AI economy, human insight compounds in value. So if your team needs, a structured path through this transition, that is exactly what the Clear Masterclass is built for, and it's free. So if you click the link Niniola.io and click register, watch the masterclass. So what we'll do now is we'll kind of bridge over into the next story. And if the job at risk from AI are in finance and professional services, the next story shows UK companies that is betting on the very different kind of automation entirely. And this is with NVIDIA backs another UK driverless startup at $103 million round. NVIDIA has invested in British driverless technology startup as part of $103 million funding round. So, what's happened, right? So an Oxford-based autonomous vehicle startup, Oxa, has raised $100 million to scale its driverless technology. The investment round includes funding from NVIDIA Ventures, Arm, N Ventures, and the UK's National Wealth Fund. Oxa develops software enabling vehicles to operate autonomously. In industrial environments, ports, airports, and warehouses, customers include such as DHL, BP, and such the like. So the total funding right now exceeds $250 million, which is a crazy amount when you really think about it. Now, here's my take on this. So for anyone building a career or business in tech, this is what stands out. Everyone assumed that autonomous vehicle revolution would start on city streets, robo-taxis, consumer transport, replacing the Uber driver. But the bet stalled. The real commercial breakthrough is happening in ports, factories, and logistical hubs, environments that are controlled, repeatable, and scalable. Oxa did not chase the headline use case. They resolved the problems technology actually works. That is the wisdom over hype, and NVIDIA just backed it. The lesson for operators and potential founders is to direct the most durable innovation strategies is not always the most glamorous. Build for where you can win first, then expand progress over prestige. So one practical action I've got for you for the rest of the month is to look at where industrial AI is being deployed in your sector, because automation in logistics and infrastructure will reshape supply chains faster than most people expect. So what we'll do is the next story that I've got for you guys, which is really depressing and a little bit sad. And I laugh because it's a bit of an awkward one. And while industry is quietly transforming logistics, the next story is a stark reminder that when AI moves into the most intimate spaces of human life, the stakes rise sharply. So Google's Gemini chatbot is facing a wrongful death lawsuit after a Florida family accused the AI system of encouraging a man to take its own life. So here's what happened. So the family of 36-year-old Florida man had filed a lawsuit against Google and the parent company Alphabet over its Gemini AI chatbot. The lawsuit claims that the chatbot encouraged the man, Jonathan, to believe it was in a romantic partner and sent him on a fictional missions. Court filings allege that Gemini later told him that ending his life was the final step to join the AI, reinforcing the delusion before his death in October 2025. Google said its models are designed not to encourage self-harm and that the company invests heavily in safeguards for sensitive conversations. And this is a really, really sad story, and my condolences to his family. So here's my take on this. The development has some very real implications for businesses in the AI space. Now, the easy response to this story is to treat it as an edge case, a strategy, yes, but an outlier. And I want to push back on that framing. AI chatbots are not just for tools. For millions of users, they are companions, advisors, and sometimes the only voice someone hears in that day. That is an enormous responsibility for companies building these products. Cannot outsource accountability to fine print. The question is, the heart of this story is not technical. It's can we build it this way? So it's people over systems, always. Behind every user's interaction is a person with dignity that has to be the design principle, not just an afterthought. So one action I've got for you guys to just have a little think about is if your organization is deploying AI products that interact directly with users, invest seriously in safety testing, because trust once lost is very hard to rebuild. Now, let's bring me on to the next segment, which is if AI is becoming a defining accountability question for tech companies, the next two stories show how national leaders are being forced to respond at scale. So just a quick one before we move on. If you spend regularly on travel, client dinners, software, or subscriptions, then the Amex Gold card earns membership reward points in all of it. I use this for business spend and it adds up very, very quickly. So if you're in the market for a new card, click the link below and use my referral link. Right, so we'll jump over to the next story that I have for you guys. And this is the Ericsson CEO kind of warns that Europe risks becoming a tech museum, which I thought was quite interesting headline. So, what happened? So the Ericsson CEO, Borge, I think it is, warns that Europe is falling behind the United States and China in the global technology race. Speaking at the Telecoms Policy Forum, he says that Europe has dramatically underperformed its technology investment and innovation over recent decades, and he points to heavy regulation and lower research spend as factors of slowing progress in AI and advancing connectivity without stronger investment and a more supportive policy environment. He warns that Europe risks becoming an open air museum for technology innovations. And to that extent, I largely agree with him. So here's my take. From my perspective, here's what this signals to people working in tech. Reflex response to this story is to defend Europe's approach, to argue that regulation protects citizens and that the US and China, in essence, cut corners. There is truth in that. Some regulation is essential. Technology without guardrails creates real harm, and the Ericsson warns about something specific in mind, and it's that when regulations outpace investments, innovation does not stop, it relocates, and Europe is losing the infrastructure race, which is the global AI race, is not just a competition between companies, it's the competition between economies, systems, and the regions that control the infrastructure shapes the rules for everyone else. The goal should not just be to regulate technology, it should be to steward it wisely, build systems that are both innovative and responsible. Those two things are not opposites, but right now Europe is struggling to hold both at once. Here's one practical action that I have for you guys, which is, follow AI infrastructure is being built globally because geography is shaping the future of the industry. So this brings us on to our next topic, and this is our final topic for the day. So really appreciate you guys for sticking around and watching this through. So our last topic is around the Whoop hiring splurge with Whoop. I do have my Whoop with me. I think I may have taken it off. So what's happened? So Whoop, the maker of the screen-free fitness tracking band, plans to increase its workforce by around 75% in 2026, adding more than 600 new roles. So positions span from software, hardware research, market research, marketing, and product development. The CEO, Will Ahmed, said the hiring push is designed to fuel product innovation and international growth ahead of a possible IPO. Whoops currently has around 800 employees and operates in more than 60 countries, with roughly 60% of sales now international. So here's my take on it. Here's the deeper meaning behind this update for ambitious professionals. So while most of the tech industry has spent the last 2 years cutting jobs, Whoop is doing the complete opposite. And that contrast deserves a lot of attention. So Whoop is betting on the market that most people haven't fully priced in yet, which is personalized health technologies. Wearables are no longer fitness trackers. They're becoming a full health platform. So blood pressure monitoring, ECGs, biological age analysis. The human body is becoming a data source. So professionals working in tech and health innovation, this is a significant signal about where capital is flowing. The intersection between health, data, and AI will be one of the largest opportunity areas in the next decade. but it comes with a stewardship responsibility. That technology that measures the human body must serve the person, not just the platform. So build for legacy, not just liquidity. So my final action for you guys is to bear in mind and to think about it. Start paying attention to the health sector, to the health technology sector. The companies shaping preventative health today may define the healthcare economy of tomorrow. And if you are looking for where hiring is growing when everyone else is shrinking, right, Whoop clearly is the answer. So I'm just going to sign off right now, guys. And yeah, this has been your weekly briefing. We've covered several stories that reveal who is building the AI power stack, who is falling behind, and what this means for your career. Now, if this added any value to you for this week, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another episode, and share this with someone who needs to stay sharp on the future of work. And lastly, click the link in the description if you would be interested in going deeper into the Clear framework, which is a proprietary framework that I've created. This has been the Decode Tech and Money. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and keep building.